Welcome back to New Rockstar. Spider-Man 4 is coming. Tom Holland is returning. Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton is directing it. The same screenwriters from Spider-Man No Way Home are writing this fourth film, and it looks like it may shoot in 2025 for a possible July 2026 release. Think about that. You got Avengers Doomsday, and this movie would come out between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So now we are wondering, what is the big hook to make sure this film makes $1 billion?
Oh my gosh, this is the Sneak Peek, the weekly show on New Rockstars where we look to the future of fandom. And Jessica Clemens with Eric Voss.
Hi everybody. Probably the biggest news is that this Shang-Chi director is now going over with Sony and making this movie. We saw Tom Holland on the Universal lot going into Amy Pascal's office and everyone lost their mind. It actually might have been for the Fred Astaire biopic that he's doing, but we're going to pretend that
he's doing a Fred Astaire biopic.
Yes, he is.
Honestly,
he's a dancer.
He's gonna eat it up. He's gonna eat it up.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have thought twice about it. Okay.
He is going to be fantastic. I saw someone saying this guy's pushing 30 and he doesn't have a career outside.
Fred Astaire was 40. First off, everyone during that time was old as hell, tap dancing their ass off. They were powered by liquor and sugar,
liquor and uppers.
Yeah, uppers. Yep. And no sleep.
No sleep.
And gambling.
Yep, that's right. Also, everyone else was dying around them in those times, so these were just the people who just survived. So they're just I have to make it through the end of my 40s.
Also, he doesn't look like he's even 30. He looks like he's still 21.
They were making fun of him for only ever playing a superhero, and I'm like, you can't go to IMDb and see that this guy was in the Uncharted movies.
Yeah,
he was in Cherry. He was in that movie with Robert Pattinson.
I will say he actively is the only superhero actor that I've seen recently branch out to both other films, but also stage. He's been doing both. He's
like Romeo and Juliet. He was in Billy Elliot for so many years. This guy has had such a wide career outside of playing superheroes. You crazy?
You're nuts. You're dumb.
Nuts.
And I'm gonna tap dance on your grave.
Wow. Yikes. Run. I think. Heaven, you're in heaven. Just kidding, you're down in hell. So let's talk about the Spider-Man 4 movie because Chris McKenna and Eric Summers are having these conversations. What does this movie need to make $1 billion? And we're saying $1 billion because these movies are co-productions of Sony and Disney/Marvel. And both of these studios need to make their nut from this movie. And so, if they're going to be splitting it 50-50 or 75-25, I believe it's 75-25, they both have to make it profitable. So there's all kinds of different elements that could be in the mix of this story. Most of the interesting ones come from the Marvel side than from the Sony side, but we should talk about some of what Sony's cooking up with its latest Venom trailer revealing Null, now part of the Sonyverse. Very exciting. I'm going to run through a list of things and let's talk about yes or no. Would this actually help this movie be better, or would this just be something that people expect to happen but wouldn't necessarily help it make money? First element.
Killing Spider-Man.
Yes. Should Spider-Man die in this movie? And by Spider-Man, I mean, should Peter Parker die in this movie?
Should Peter Parker die in this movie?
Passing the torch on to someone else, presumably.
Oh, you're serious?
Miles, good. Let's talk about it. Should Peter Parker die? Some people thought that he would die in Spider-Man No Way Home.
I don't think Peter Parker's allowed to die.
Oh, is that on the list of rules?
Not even on the list of rules. I meant in general, right? I mean, because even though he died in Into the Spider-Verse, there was still a million other Spider-Men. It was just
there's other Peter Parkers.
Yeah, there's other Peter Parkers. But if there's a standalone film where Peter Parker Spider-Man just dies himself, I don't know if that could happen.
I think to kill off Tom Holland's Peter Parker would just be denying them the opportunity to feature him in Secret Wars, unless he's from another universe or something like that. But it's this particular Peter Parker's journey that we want to stick with.
I do think I don't think a lot of people are going to keep dying in his properties now. That Aunt May died and now he's alone and his friendships died. It's he has no one. I think the last thing we need to do is kill another thing in his future.
I agree with that. His Tony Stark died.
Stark died. It's next thing that dies in his universe, let it be a villain. And even then, maybe don't. Let him realize he doesn't need to kill the villain.
Yes. So let's talk about the multiverse as a concept. Should the last movie was a multiverse story. We had Toby and Andrew. We had the other multiversal villains using Doctor Strange magic and sling ring portals. Should this fourth movie also be a multiverse story, or should it have no multiverse at all in it?
No multiverse. It already technically kind of did, right? And No Way Home.
What do you mean? Yes, they already kind of, I agree with you. So what does multiverse even mean? Does multiverse mean I think to most people in the audience, means cameos of people from other realities, the actor coming through some kind of rift. But I think like the multiverse can also just be something like what we saw in the Across the Spider-Verse film of just like seeing people in like weird landscapes.
Yeah.
But the problem I have with that is it's always ugly. They have not come up with something that's like, of all the cool locations they designed for Across the Spider-Verse, the Spider Campus that they went to looked boring. It was just muted and and I think the idea of it was that was supposed to be, you know, Miguel O'Hara's design, and that was supposed to be a reflection of his stoic kind of like by the books nature. Any movie franchise has yet to build a multiversal space that actually looks cool. That looks like, I mean, I guess we could say the TVA is the exception to that rule. The TVA was cool, but it wasn't like, it was more of like a place that was neutral from the multiverse and just kind of a workspace. The Loki Yggdrasil looks like a cool way to show the multiverse. What If, that glass covered mirror plane that Uatu lives in, that looked pretty cool. But it's just like hard for designers to build something that is actually the multiverse and like bridges to these places in a way that like that film creators are like, yeah, that works for the story I want to tell.
I don't think we have the capability yet to make it as cool as we'd want it to be, but I also think everyone has their different versions of what they want to see in a multiverse movie, or like what they want in a different multiverse landscape, and a lot of them always fall on nostalgia and that like 60s 70s kind of weird, like even what they thought sci-fi was supposed to look like. And so I'm like, oh, okay, all these artists all have the same idea for what they want their 60s 70s 80s inspired art landscape of a multiverse to look like, and no one wants to change it up, because I'm trying to imagine what I would want to see, and I'm like, I just love the TVA. Yeah. I'm like, I love the TVA, and I love what like any type of idea that we had for the Fantastic Four. I was like, yeah, give me the 60s landscape that's taking place in 2064.
And everyone keeps trying. Like the TVA as a workspace conceptually is very cool, but it's its own kind of like interesting bubble of thought experiments and commentaries on existence. But I think what I'm referring to is like an Interstellar, where McConaughey goes into the Tesseract in space inside the black hole, and Christopher Nolan conceived it to be this like right angle based construct around the bookcase. So he used the simple structure of a bookcase in a home and built this kind of like 3D, 4D really landscape that shows these different moments in time. And I don't know if that was a multiverse, really. That was just like kind of a time travel, way to convey time travel. But if there's a way to like show that through the multiverse, I thought it was really cool.
Is there another example you can give the audience and people like me who have never seen Interstellar?
You've never seen Interstellar?
I don't really care for space movies like that.
Oh, but it's, yeah, okay. It is like one of the best space movies.
It is, which you've told, but I also have only heard this from you. You love Interstellar. I only hear good things about Interstellar. I just haven't seen it because space movies, I think I've been burnt too much, where I'm like, I'm so tired, and they make me tired. Yeah. But I know Interstellar probably wouldn't. I just never did. What other example though?
I think Everything Everywhere All at Once did a decent job of it, but they did it on a pretty shoestring budget, and they kept it grounded in Evelyn, in the main character, and the way that they showed her daughter go and it was just kind of like flickering. The way that they showed at one point from an alternate reality, Ke Kwan's character was showing like their computer screen with the different numbers on different little donut rings or bagel rings, really. And it was like kind of pinging around. That was the way that they showed the multiverse in that. And I thought that was at least interesting, but we didn't linger in it too much. And it smartly stayed in the point of view of the character. But I do think there is a way to show the multiverse that has not yet been shown. And I may be wrong. Maybe it was in like an episode of Doctor Who or Rick and Morty somewhere, of just like a character walking through their life, and you see, like, you know how when you're doing racing games, you have like in Mario Kart, you have the ghost version of yourself that you're trying to beat the time trial of, and so you're racing against that hypothetical version of yourself. And sometimes I've been like, when I used to walk around Hollywood all the time, when I'd have to park like blocks and blocks away to go to my improv theater, I would imagine a separate version of myself on foot who did make the crosswalk in time, and that version of me was just 30 seconds ahead of me now, living out that life, and I could see that version of myself. And there's another version of me who just didn't get that spot fast enough and had to park another block away, who's like a minute and a half behind me. And all these different versions of me are just kind of like slightly reduced opacity, kind of translucent versions of me that are just like living all around me, just walking in different directions, taking different routes. And maybe you even see like kind of an illuminated, like imagine you have a lantern that just kind of illuminates the different life path surroundings that are following them. I feel like that that's not a story. That's just kind of like
the
an
scene.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
But so I understand why like no director is like, yeah, well, I'll write a story that fits in Eric Voss's stupid vision as he was late for improv rehearsal. But I'm just saying like there's like other ways you can like convey the multiverse than what we've seen before.
We just haven't seen it yet. And I don't know who's going to be the first one to step outside the box to do it, but I also do think Marvel does not want to touch the multiverse anymore.
I think they're done based off of Deadpool's line.
Yeah, even if it's like a small little nod to, I think they're like, let's just stay away from it. Like they're like, we're done.
I think the word even has like kind of a weight to it, a stink to it. I think, but when Deadpool was saying that, I think what he was referring to is they're just tired of cameo after cameo after cameo. And so far, the only ways we've explored multiverse, other than Everything Everywhere All at Once, has just been through cameos. And I think multiverse is like a different concept. It's supposed to be like what it is Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's one person imagining different life paths they could have taken. And Everything Everywhere All at Once, to make it cinematic and exciting, it's just vastly different life paths. One, she's a famous movie star. One, she's a hot dog fingered person. But I think there's also another way to show multiverse where it's just like subtle different changes that just lead you in different ways.
I think they also just have a hard time understanding the concept of a multiverse and the math that it takes to understand it. And then it's just too much bookkeeping for the next feature film to like hold on to it. So it just seems like there's no pros for them going back and returning to do the multiverse stuff.
I think Secret Wars and Doomsday will be such multiversal stories in that regard. And I think there are going to be big cameo fests. But I think in terms of Spider-Man 4, it's not going to be the multiverse as part of its main story, would be my guess. And you don't need it. You don't need it.
But I still do think it's going to be a cameo fest in the way that like we've never seen these characters before, but they are like Spidey villains.
Yeah. So let's talk about Miles Morales. Does this movie need to be the movie that introduces Miles Morales?
I think so. It's about time. If this is the fourth movie, it's the fourth movie. The trilogy was his origin. So now it's like, this is the Spider-Man we're getting. And I don't need it to be a new Spider-Man, but I'm like, okay, if Tom Holland, Peter Parker is just existing, we should see another Spider-Man.
Agreed.
We should see another Spider-Man.
Now, do you think Miles needs his own movie? Would it be a disservice to Miles to force him to team up with Tom Holland, Peter Parker?
I think it'd be a disservice, but only because we got so much of what we got to see of him in Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse that made it be like, oh, this character is amazing, but this character wouldn't be what Marvel's Miles would be. If that makes sense to the audience. I think we're all excited for Miles to enter live action, but it wouldn't be the Miles Morales that we get in the Across the Spider-Verse. That's Sony Animations. That's a different writer. That's different creators. When it comes to Marvel, it'll be a different kind of character. So I think that's why I'm like, I don't mind him not getting an origin and being a standalone. I think and this also goes with the video game, I think there were moments where they did do a good job giving him his flowers and more than they gave Peter Parker. And they separated the storyline so it wasn't just the two of them together the entire time. They both had different arcs. And I think that balance is still there for Peter Parker and the new Miles. I think this would actually lay up Miles Morales, and then we'll be getting more Miles Morales by himself in the future. It'll be like what we should have done with Echo, which was like not give her a show after the cameo she made. I wanted her to, I was like, we didn't get enough time with her. If we got enough time with her in Hawkeye, then I wouldn't have minded her getting her own show. So I'm like, okay, there's a fly in here, I'm sorry. Let's set Miles up for a future where he's going to be in standalone things and do it in Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, I think having these two people share the screen together, I think is the most exciting version of this. And you could even put both their names in the title. It could be Peter and Miles or something like that. I don't know. Like there's, or Spider-Man 4... Peter meets Miles. I don't know. Like, there's like a way that you can really, really celebrate and elevate Miles with this movie.
I think you can. And also, again, we're elevating him for a future, getting him ready for a future where he's going to be big. I don't think we should argue like, oh, he has to work with Peter Parker. It's like, no, Peter Parker had to work with someone too. He had to work with Iron Man. I'm like, this is how it works. To become Spider-Man, you have to like learn to become Spider-Man. And I just want him to work together with someone.
Now, is this the Miles that Donald Glover as Aaron Davis referenced in Homecoming?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it also would be like stupid to...
This
fly is literally only around us.
We got a cricket, we got a fly, we got a banging door. We are basic outdoors. We are basically...
Why aren't we just shooting outdoors?
We are in the Age of Apocalypse universe from Deadpool.
Living in the damn woods, cabin in the goddamn... We're camping.
So we're talking about the Miles that was referenced by Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming, right?
It feels like there would be no reason to not make that connection. Donald, what's his name?
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover.
Childish Gambino.
Childish Donald Gambino. He's only going up, and then like that, even that little cameo in Across the Spider-Verse was so exciting for people that it's like, oh, why not make that correlation, even if it's a little light one? Like it might be like a one-off sentence of like, oh yeah, my uncle used to steal things. My uncle used to steal things. Maybe something better than what I just said.
Well, do you think that it sounded like Hobie Brown was the one who arrested that live action version of Prowler? Could it be that there is a Miles in that universe whom Peter meets through the multiverse? Like, this is a completely different take on what we were just talking about from, the version of Aaron Davis. Because I believe Donald Glover was playing a different character in that scene in Spider-Man Homecoming than he played in the animated Across the Spider-Verse.
Well, he was a different universe where this one's the bad guy.
Yeah, it's not like that guy who we saw with his hand glued to the back of the car becomes the Prowler.
This was a variant of that one that is still live action, but just as the Prowler.
Yeah. Definitely. Today's video is sponsored by Blue Chew. Ah, autumn, a time for falling leaves, forests, trees, wood. Look, I already know I said this video is sponsored by Blue Chew, so you know where I'm going. We can drop the metaphor. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. It's super easy too. Just sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take Blue Chew anytime, day or night. That way you can plan ahead or be ready for whenever an opportunity arises. If you're skeptical or think you don't need it, try it free for a month and see. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code NEWROCKSTARS at checkout. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code NEWROCKSTARS to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information, and we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this video. Yeah, so I think there's a way that in maybe Beyond the Spider-Verse we see what that universe was, and there was like a different Miles, and we could have two different Mileses
in Spider-Man 4?
or in Secret Wars. Like we meet the MCU Miles Morales, and there's a whole other Miles from this Prowler's universe who we could see in Beyond the Spider-Verse, who now ties in to Secret Wars, and there's two Mileses.
That'd be fun. I would like that. I don't know if Sony Animations wants to let them get that much. That's also the point, is that like, well, no, because Sony took the variant Donald Glover and put him in the movie. Because Sony's still like very much like owning their stuff. They don't want to let Marvel have a little bit of it. They're like, this is ours. But I'm like, no, you already took that from us. So yeah, I could see that. That'd be fun.
I think realistically they want to do this fourth movie as the introduction of Miles, but they need Tom Holland there so that people can just see that transition happen in a movie.
They do, but there's also that chance that they don't include Miles because Sony is not ready.
I think if they're still not ready at this point, they just need to surrender the rights back to Marvel Studios.
It's not even about being ready. It's about being petty. It's about being Miles is all they got. Miles is all they got.
Right.
Like, and they know that, and they're like, once he's gone in live action, we lose that.
Yeah, but how long? I think there's got to be someone at these studios who says these superhero movies are not going to be popular forever. Even Westerns went out of style.
I hope.
And they need to, we have maybe another 10, 15 years before people are tired of everything superhero, I think.
100%. But I think Sony's like, I don't have, not even throwing this shade at you guys, Sony, but like, if Sony's like, I ain't got no money and our one money ticket is about to go into Marvel, I would be kind of like, I'm not letting you guys take it.
I think Sony's always flush with cash because unlike these other studios, unlike Paramount, for example, Sony makes video games and they have PlayStations and they're always making money from that.
It's still Miles. It's a Miles Spider-Man game. I think that's the only reason why I believe that Sony is still holding on and won't let us just take it. Is they're like, no, this is ours. We want it. And I'm like, you guys aren't even doing a good job with what you currently have. Like your Spider-Man movies are not good. I will give Venom, and that is it. That I will only give you Venom. So it's like, God. And it's also Sony Animation. I don't know. This is me beefing with Sony because I do want them to just let us have Miles. Just let Marvel take Miles.
You're saying let us. We do not work for Marvel Studios.
I don't work for, well, I'm more so like if I'm on a team, I'm clearly on Marvel versus Sony Pictures or Sony Animation. I just love Miles Morales so much. And it's like, come on, give him that time to be live action. put him in Spider-Man 4. You got to put him in Spider-Man 4.
I think it's casting. I think they're really trying to nail the casting of Miles Morales. I don't think they're going to let Shameik Moore do it, even though Shameik Moore is like, make me Miles.
I love him, but he's too old now, and it sucks. And it sucks. I know, baby. I know.
I think they're like, they need to find a kid of a certain age, a really good actor, and a kid who is Black and Puerto Rican. And I think it's hard for them to find.
The way that they're looking right now, you guys are drawing too late. They wanted the kid from Blackish. That kid is now almost 17. Yeah. They wanted Caleb McLaughlin. I was like, that kid is now 22. I was like, you guys are waiting too long. I was like, if you guys want someone that's already established, it's gone. It's sailed. You're going to have to grab someone that no one's seen before. Even if you grab that young child from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show, I think he's about to be the youngest one. The youngest one. I know he's Dominican. I think he's Dominican. I don't know. I'll look into it. But I'm like, even that kid has like the New York accent. He has the New York voice. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be good. But eventually he's going to be like 19. It's going to be too late. Yeah. These kids grow too fast.
They grow up too fast.
Shameik Moore, you grew up too fast.
Let's talk about the Venom of it all. Does this fourth Spider-Man movie need Venom or references to Null or any symbiotes or a black-suited Peter Parker to make $1 billion?
Logically, Sony would take a Venom before they would take a Miles, or like a Spider-Man 4 welcome Venom versus Miles. The backhand you just gave it. Oh my God, Eric Dad is coming out. The Dad Eric is coming out. He rolled up the newspaper. It makes more sense for like Venom to show up than Miles.
Yeah, I think there are people at Sony who are like, so Venom in this one.
Yeah, they are.
They're playing it. There's one guy. His name is Avi Arad, and he can't wait to get Venom in this movie.
After that post-credit scene, they're like, yeah, we're gonna throw him in there. But I don't know what is gonna do. Like he's just gonna at the end. I don't know when it would show up.
Venom goo. I don't think it would be Tom Hardy. I'm using this now to gesticulate, and I shouldn't. It would be the goo that was left on the countertop, and we know that in the Venom trailer, Chiwetel Ejiofor captures it. But I think that is in 688. Yes. That's not in 616. There's a separate bar top with the separate guy from Ted Lasso, who's a bartender, who and they're just parallel pieces of goo on parallel bar countertops in different universes. So that goo is still somewhere in the 616 universe.
You think that goo will attach to someone and it wouldn't be a Venom? Like it wouldn't have the personality of Venom. It'd be a different.
Yeah, it latches onto either Peter Parker. I'm not saying I like this. I'm just saying like
that's what Sony's gonna allow, like to be like, here, take it. It's already there.
Just the moment a bit of that goo is in your story, it becomes a Venom story. And they kept it just in the post-credit scene to No Way Home, so it didn't like affect the whole story. But like the moment Venom just has to, in any capacity, like Spider-Man 3, it was just a Venom story. There were so many other components, but Venom was in all the marketing. And it was like, that's why it was successful. So
I like the Venom part of Spider-Man 3.
I thought Topher Grace's Venom was great.
It was very fun.
Really fun. Yeah, I just think like there's other directions the story could go. And if you bring in any other elements, no matter what, it's going to be when's Venom going to get there?
I think it would be more exciting to make it Miles Morales, but I'm not surprised if they chose Venom. Like to make it a Venom goo story instead. Yeah. I would not be surprised. I just think it would be way more fun and exciting if it was Miles. I guess you could do both. Miles could get the symbiote, and it could be a Miles story that way.
Yeah, I think there's so many other dimensions to Miles' character beyond like a symbiote infection. How much do they embrace the ending of No Way Home? So do we want to see Peter in that bright blue and red suit that he was sewing together? And should the memory spell still be in effect? Should he still be anonymous, or should the spell be lifted?
I think it should be anonymous. I want to start this movie with the saddest Peter Parker I can. We have not stewed yet in his full sadness, and I don't think it's like happy to see him sad, but I do think that brings so much more like drama to the movie itself. It keeps it really grounded too, of like he's alone. He's now by himself. No one knows who he is or knows that he is Spider-Man, and everybody's gone. He wants everyone out of his life. So I'm like, start him with that shitty little suit that he made and have him doing a different version of saving the day. Maybe more like, he's like, I'm going to do vigilante stuff. I'm going to listen to my radio, my police radio.
Mm-hmm. He's got his Citizens app, and he's now weighing in on the threads. That's not good.
He's starting the crimes.
He's looking out his window. He's like, you know what? That guy does look suspicious. And then, sure enough,
that's not his Cadillac.
He's saying to the front gate of the building, you need to fix this damn door. And it means a whole different thing when it's the door to the building versus his own home.
I don't know how
Peter is a NIMBY.
Oh Oh no, I don't know how much Miles in the Venom part will like coincide, but I do think this will have to be how the movie starts.
Yeah.
It's his depression, how he's been, even if it's like 6 months after. I'm like, let me show me how he's been existing.
Yeah. I want to
Existing
see
alone in
him
that
just
dingy
as,
apartment.
working for the Daily Bugle. I think at the very least, you need to just have Peter as a photographer working in New York.
Has he shown any evidence or interest in being a journalist like he is in all the other movies?
He's never read a newspaper.
You're gonna randomly put him at the Daily Bugle?
This Peter gets his news from like YouTube comment sections. He doesn't know what a newspaper
That's
is.
what I'm saying. Don't start him at the Daily Bugle. He's not gonna do anything there.
This Peter has never, he's like a scientist. He's a STEM student. He has never strung two words together to make a sentence before. I think I want to see a journalist Peter Parker who because that's the thing. These stories are always better when they're journalism stories. Richard Donner's Superman was better because we got to see him in a newsroom.
I mean, what I was gonna say was, is he gonna fake take photos of himself again?
Okay.
Is he gonna, because no one knows that he's Spider-Man, so he's gonna do the photos again?
That should just be a small part of it. I want to see this guy with the camera in his hands, not strung up in a web to like take glamour shots.
That's what he's gonna do.
That's dishonest.
That's how he's gonna make money, because he's just like broke now.
That's dishonest.
In that little dingy apartment.
So are we going to see J.K. Simmons come back as the version of J. Jonah Jameson that he was in the past two movies?
Absolutely, especially because what was the last time? He now is like doing like digital.
Yeah, he was running like a digital news service, but now it had expanded and had like a pretty big studio throughout that movie as a result of the peddling about Spider-Man conspiracy theories.
Wasn't his son brought up in Venom? Wasn't his son one of the people in Venom?
Oh, yeah. One of the astronauts was named Jameson in the 2018 Venom movie.
Do you think
John
that's
Jameson.
the reason why Venom will also be able to come over, is because it will rekindle that information?
Oh, maybe, yeah. I think having an astronaut son will be important.
Having an astronaut son will be important.
Yeah, I mean, he was an astronaut in the Raimi verse, right?
100%.
Yeah, dated
that
MJ,
was just very funny.
engaged to MJ for a bit in the second movie. I think we need to see him in a newsroom. Maybe like it's come full circle. The digital media outlet just got suspended it got deplatformed. So now he's like, the only way I can make money is by printing again. He got a deal through some like old printer, and he's like, I'm gonna send out leaflets around and just put them in newsstands. It's a new thing. They're like, that's what journalism used to be. He's like, no, it's new.
No, it's new.
Yeah.
Now give me those pictures of Spider-Man.
Because there was like it was the J. Jonah Jameson podcast, the Daily Bugle podcast, and the Spider-Man 4 game.
Yeah.
Like maybe we see a podcast version of it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Okay, so Andrew and Toby, probably not. We don't need them in this, but in Secret Wars. Yes.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun to bring over Andrew Garfield. He's bored.
Yeah.
He's bored. He's bored making really good, nice films with Florence Pugh and looking beautiful and sweet and everything in between.
Yeah.
He wants to be that poor man. Once you join the Marvel, any superhero thing, it's been how long since that movie, and he's still getting questions? He is still getting.
He will always be asked.
He will never not get a question about Spider-Man. Like, when are you coming back? And he's like, I shot that when I was 22. I'm now 41. Like, it's insane. That poor man. But yeah, he should come back.
So part of the conversations about this being a street level story is that like we could have a team up with Daredevil and have Kingpin be the villain. How do you feel about that?
I would love it, but if we're already doing Venom, I think it's easy. I think it's.
Let's say we're not doing Venom. Let's
Then
just say they leave Venom out of it.
Then yes.
And then this can just be.
Remember that we're still also trying to build on the future of the franchise in general. Like Eric said, superhero movies, just like Westerns, they will go away with time. But right now, the last thing Marvel wants to think about is that. So they're going to try building franchises that can last forever. And that is a way to keep it building off of that, is by including Daredevil and Spider-Man together.
Yeah.
Because they need to. What the hell? That's like, it took us this long to finally get Reed, who is involved in everything in the comics. I'm like, yeah, Spider-Man and Daredevil have to go meet each other eventually. So yes, do it.
Yeah. So I think D'Onofrio and Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, I think make perfect sense. Like, I think if you're it's like all these movies always have like a contribution from Marvel Studios, and you need to have some other kind of like Avenger or hero that teams up with Peter or mentors Peter, or, you had Doctor Strange, you had Nick Fury, you had Tony Stark. So yeah, having a Daredevil is one option. But let's talk about some other Avengers if we don't have Daredevil in this story. If it's not Kingpin, what are some other Avengers who could tie in? And with Destin Daniel Cretton directing it, could Shang-Chi team up with Peter Parker?
100%. 100%. 100. He will be coming from San Francisco to visit New York just for fun. Also, when you mention, for some reason, we don't go to New York. We stay on the West Coast unless we're needed in New York. But kind of to what you said, there is a lot of moments where Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is always teamed up with someone else, but he's always learning regardless, no matter what. He's always the child. He's always the little boy with Doctor Strange, with Iron Man, with whomever. And with Shang-Chi, he wouldn't be. It would probably be like, we're on the same level. And, or if anything, Shang-Chi would be like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Like, how do I fight this? And I would like to see that.
I can see some amazing acrobatic stunt sequences with just the two of them jumping off of like surfaces and scaffoldings and just swinging through the city, the narrow alleyways of New York. It could be a lot of fun with the two of them.
That support, I love anytime Peter Parker or any Spider-Man uses their webs as support to another person that can't fly or do anything. And that's all I imagine is him being like lifting them off, and then Shang-Chi's just like zing with his rings. Oh my God, that'd be so nice.
Well, let's imagine a size and color-based contrast. So I'm thinking like Miles is still here, and we have Miles, we have Peter, and we have the third. So we're trying to cast the third here. One option for the third could be Daredevil, one could be Shang-Chi, another option, Hulk.
You love Hulk.
So imagine Hulk is like the third end of this fork, and you have just a giant green hulking monster. You have Mark Ruffalo as like the comedic energy, who's like a part of that equation. And how do you see Hulk? Could that be an option?
Yeah. No,
not interested in Hulk.
Not a Hulk. Maybe I'm trying to think. Not She-Hulk either. If there had to be a Hulk, I think it wouldn't be the Hulk. I think it would have to be someone else. But I understand where you're coming from. I also
Amadeus Cho Hulk.
Yes, 100%.
Amadeus Cho Hulk.
I also think we're getting too close to Avengers, the first one where they're fighting Loki. If we bring Hulk in and then all these other New Yorkers, I'm like, yeah, it looks like we're just building another Avengers team with the Hulk and Miles on it this time.
Another pitch, Captain Marvel. Because remember, Carol Danvers said, nice to meet you, Peter Parker. She was off-world, maybe on another part of the galaxy when the spell was cast. Might Carol Danvers remember who Peter Parker is?
I think she remembers him. I just don't think she's going to appear in this movie. Okay. Spider-Man 4. I think
we just say because Brie Larson and Destin Daniel Cretton have worked together in a lot of their films before, she might pick up the phone for this and be like, yeah, I'll show up in this movie.
Yeah, I'll show up. If Brie Larson shows up in Spider-Man 4, too many people would say too many stupid things. And I think she's like, let me just take a break. After the Marvels, I think she's like, a breather is good for me.
Okay. I would just love to see a reunion between those two characters. I love that moment.
I think they're going to, and I think they should say that line again or something like that, similar to it on Secret Wars or anything. Next time they meet in a big group setting, I want her to say it again. It's very sweet. Because of course she heard about him, and it's so great.
Okay, so let's, three other options I want to throw you. The people we've met in the MCU so far who might be in Peter Parker's age group and could set up like a young Avengers team up in Doomsday or Secret Wars. What if Peter Parker meets Kamala Khan?
100%.
Could Kamala Khan as like one of these New York area based superheroes?
I bet she already knows Miles, if Miles exists. I'm sure she's already aware of who Miles is and they know each other. Are they the same age, him and Kate Bishop?
So Kate Bishop's a little bit older. She's college age. Kamala Khan is still in high school.
No. Spider-Man and Kate Bishop.
They might be around the same age. I don't know if the actors are the same age.
I was like, watch that be his new love interest, Kate Bishop.
Well, that was going to be my next pick, Kate Bishop. So Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan now know each other. Mm-hmm. They have met as of the post-credit scene of the Marvels. Could both of these women meet Peter Parker in the New York area?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't think he would join their team, but I think he would be like, anytime you guys need help, I can help. He's going to be there like Daredevil, where it's like he's a little too powerful for our team, but he's going to be there to help when we need it.
Okay. One final option from this age group, Riri Williams, Ironheart.
They're going to have to meet at some time because they're both very smart and engineers. Do you think she knows MJ and Ned before she meets?
Right. Yeah. Through the MIT connection. Yeah. Could that be how she meets Peter Parker?
I could see that happening. Oh, that would be actually even like a fun little split if we see Ned and MJ at MIT and they're seeing Ironheart on her way out because she's getting like kicked out of the school.
Yeah, both of them through their shared engineering aspirations and the model of Tony Stark. That could be something that brings them together.
100%. He'd be like, I heard my best friend's suit was flying around freaking MIT the other day, and she'd be like, it was me.
I think if I were to rank these heroes, like, so we have Daredevil, Shang-Chi, Hulk, Captain Marvel, Kamala Khan, Kate Bishop, Riri Williams. Of all of these, I think the one that I'd be most excited to see Peter team up with, probably Daredevil, just because they've already met. And like they have a shared mutual enemy of Kingpin that just kind of makes sense to me. But after that, I think the one I'd most excited to see him with would be Riri Williams.
Yeah, I think it would just be, I keep saying cute, even though these are like highly intelligent people in STEM. I'm like, I just think it would be adorable with the little electronics.
Just imagine them in a workshop getting their elbows all greased up as they're like just cranking some wrenches, and they toss each other a wrench, and he flips the wrench and like helps her out,
I think they would make a weapon, not a weapon, but like a suit.
They built the worst weapon.
No. They'd make a suit that
mass
was
destruction.
Insane.
Yeah,
it would make a suit that was insane. They would, oh my gosh, together they would be unstoppable in the world of technology and the MCU. I think, I like Daredevil a lot. God, I want Miles. I want Miles in Spider-Man. Spider-Man 4, in your fourth Spider-Man movie, include Miles.
Well, we're assuming Miles is like, you have Peter, you have Miles, and then the third option.
Oh, yeah.
I think in the third option, either Daredevil or Riri Williams Ironheart.
I agree. I would take Kamala Khan, because I would like the idea that Kamala Khan would actually genuinely know who Miles is before he'd be introducing Miles to Kamala, and Kamala would be like, I know who this is.
Yeah, I know who this is.
I know he lives down the street.
Running through a couple other options, do we need the Sinister Six in this movie, or do we already kind of get that in No Way Home? It wasn't officially the Sinister Six. It was just a lot of common Peter Parker Spider-Man villains.
Leave it to Sony. Okay. Also, doesn't Sony technically own the Sinister Six?
Yeah, but this would be their movie as well, Spider-Man 4, so they could do it. Yeah, it's just like if Sony does the Sinister Six, it's gonna be Morbius, it's gonna be Michael Keaton Vulture. It's not gonna be good.
I think we should just give it to them. And we will make something else. Sorry, I keep saying we.
God, unless they want to cast us. People already think we work for Marvel Studios, and they're like, these shills.
I want to be so transparent that I do not stand behind Sony. Unless it's their headphones. I do like their headphones. Yeah. No, but I think we should just give it to Sony, because at this point, it's also going to be so confusing with Michael Keaton's character appearing randomly at the end of the other movie. So I'm like, just give them Sinister Six. I know that it's hard to give them the Sinister Six, but there's other teams. There's other teams we can take a part of.
I think we kind of missed the window for Sinister Six.
Yeah,
I think we missed the window.
Also that too. I think it's gone.
Yeah.
And also, we've seen the Sinister Six so many times separately. You would have to make a fully new team of Sinister Six for me to be like, oh, cool, these are new Sinister Six members. Yeah. If I see Scorpion one more time, I will lose my shit. Like, I'm so sorry. I know that person wasn't given any storyline, even not even the games, but I'm like, I've seen him enough. Yeah. I've seen him every single time.
Yeah, we don't need like a Aaron Taylor Johnson Craven with. Yeah, I'm just not interested.
Craven's done.
I'll watch that movie, but I don't need him teaming up with anyone. Yeah.
And I love Sandman, but I'm like, I've also seen every version of him that we can do. I've seen these characters so many times now.
Okay, so returning characters who were a big part of Tom Holland and Peter Parker's world: Zendaya as MJ, Jacob Batalon as Ned. Do we think they need to come back for this fourth movie?
Do you think it would be sad if they just don't?
I think it'd be a little sad, especially for Zendaya, who's been so great. MJ and Peter, that final scene was just beautiful.
But it might be.
Couldn't that be like the last we see of them? And just if that's the end of their story, I'm kind of okay with that.
That's what I'm saying. I think I like it if it's just done, because that would make that ending so much more dramatic. That okay. Here's your drink, dude. Why are you being so weird?
And I think that's like, it makes his decision at the end of the movie. It lets it stay in place. And I think it's more true to life, is sometimes just relationships end. And that's okay. You walk your separate ways, and there's always gonna be part of you who imagines what if, and imagines like, did I make the right choice? But that's life.
That is, and I agree. I completely agree. I want it to be done.
Yeah.
That's it.
There have been pitches that we need a Steven Yeun as Mr. Negative.
Ooh.
In a story at some point. I think Steven Yeun can do so many other things.
I don't think you need Mr. Negative, but I love Mr. Negative. Yeah. Mr. Negative storyline is insane, and I honestly think it would be great if but you have to include Kingpin. I also think that too. I'm like, you can't have Mr. Negative just wandering around New York acting like Kingpin doesn't exist. And if this is still in our universe, Kingpin is still here. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of it too much, but I think I'm fine without it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, just imagining what the world will be like in summer of 2026 when we think this movie will come out. Avengers Doomsday would have just come out. Fantastic Four First Steps would have come out the summer before, introducing the world to Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, The Thing, and potentially Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom might make an appearance in a post-credits scene. And we will have just seen Downey as Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday a couple months before this. Do we see, on the other side of all these events, Peter Parker team up with Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, who has now come into this universe? So the two of them flying around New York, one of them flaming on and zipping through the streets of New York now in 616 from this alternate 60s universe, teaming up with Peter Parker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, or do we save that for Secret Wars?
I get what you're saying, is saving it for Secret Wars. Would it be not annoying to have all these characters that literally base their power, or not they're only their powers, but they're all like just geniuses, engineers. They're all like very smart scientists, and to not put them together before Secret Wars a little bit, just a little bit. I don't know. It feels like at one point in time, all the movies that we're going to have from the MCU are scientists. Or like people that are some form of like, they're either engineers, they're scientists, or they're just mathematicians. And I'm like, but they don't know each other. Not a single one of these people have interacted with each other.
Yeah.
I get
it was like that really great moment with Shuri and Bruce Banner and Tony Stark in Infinity War. I love that. Like, why didn't you connect them?
Why didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yes, I cannot echo it enough. We didn't think of it.
It was such a great line.
But it also would be like, if they do it on like Battle World, it'll feel like Tony Stark in the cave. They could probably come together to make something that's insane.
Yeah. I don't think of Johnny Storm as the engineer. I think that's Reed. You know, Reed
no, 100
are more the engineers.
I think he's still smart, but I don't think he's like, I think he needs help. I think he needs help.
Yeah.
I mainly, and also I keep putting Ironheart in this in those two people group that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I kept imagining Riri Williams was also there to help, because I was like, oh yeah, they're probably all just like working off each other.
So when Robert Downey Jr. was announced as the new Victor Von Doom coming from this alternate universe, I think all of us are wondering what's going to happen when Tom Holland looks at the face of Victor Von Doom in this upcoming conflict, and just like what's going to be his reaction when he looks just like who he knew to be Tony Stark. Does that moment happen in this fourth Spider-Man movie, or does that happen in Doomsday or Secret Wars?
But this is coming after.
It would be coming after Doomsday. Maybe Peter Parker is not in Doomsday, but he is in Secret Wars.
He's in Secret Wars, yeah.
So does it happen in Secret Wars?
I can see it happening. The reason I can see it happening in Spider-Man 4 is because then it will just, next time we see Spider-Man won't be until Secret Wars, right?
A year later. Maybe it gets delayed or something like that.
Which I don't mind doing. But do they want to save it? Because that's a big deal. That's a big scene. You could say that. Big moment. You could say, I think it's great to end a movie on that cliffhanger versus just showing it in Secret Wars. But I could also see it still has the same impact in Secret Wars.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've come together with like our recipe for what we would pay $1 billion for. Just between Jessica and myself, we would pay $1 billion for this movie.
That is true.
So what we're saying is yes to Miles.
You gotta put Miles in it.
No to, and just for the Spider-Man 4 story. Yes to Miles. No to Multiverse.
Yes.
No to Venom.
No to Venom. Oh, if you want $1 billion, I think you're fine leaving Venom out.
So I think, part of this recipe is you need a Miles, and I think you need a Childish Gambino. I think you need Aaron Davis in this movie, Donald Glover. Yeah. I think he helps. He helps.
That's the thing. Is like Miles helps, and then this will also just help. None of these have like cons, like for money wise. I'm paying to go see a live action Miles Morales, mainly because I want to see who you chose.
Yeah,
I was like, I want to see who you chose. Do not unveil, and they're gonna unveil it in the trailer. But I'm like, if you could just show me like his arm or his leg or his hair, I'd be like, oh, that's Miles, and that's all I want.
You see, I need him as a co-star of this movie.
You want him I want to surprise.
It's a Miles and Peter story.
You can still make a trailer that like is misleading in that way, in my way of being like, ooh, you don't even know that it's actually gonna be I guess Deadpool and Wolverine did that, right? They kind of you didn't know that
you knew it was going to be a two-person story. I think it needs to be co-starred. I think they need to be equal billing. So I think you need that. Definitely need to see Peter Parker as a photojournalist in New York working for the Daily Bugle.
Yes,
that needs to be part of it. The spell needs to still be in place. The spell still needs to be in place where he's anonymous and he is just listening to his police scanner and helping solve crimes throughout the streets of Manhattan.
100%.
That needs to be part of it.
If they just randomly make people forget the spell, throw myself off a balcony.
Nope. Needs to still be in place.
It has to be in place.
And I think we need a team up, in addition to Miles Morales, with a third popular MCU character. So Daredevil is at the top of our list. Riri Williams is at the top of our list. And beyond that, maybe Kamala Khan.
Yeah. I'm just anyone that's in New York, which is I guess is Kamala, Kate Bishop, those girls
Kamala,
right now.
Kate Bishop, Shang-Chi's just harder to make that case because we want to see him explore San Francisco more. But
I can see Destin Daniel Cretton still choosing Shang-Chi just because he's like, look, this is my boy. I already am doing another movie with him, and I can call him over real quick.
Yeah.
I could see it, but it's also like I think Riri would have a huge impact because she could also still bridge that MJ thing. Not that we need to see a lot of MJ, but just so we see MJ. We as the audience, not Peter Parker.
So my final question for you, villain. We've talked about Kingpin would be a great villain. Or do we have an MCU Oscorp? And I know Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn said that there isn't an Oscorp, but maybe Brandon mentioned when we talked about this in the break room that could have been a deception, or there just hasn't been an Oscorp yet.
Do we want an Oscorp? I'm like, we need an Oscorp, but I'm also like a different way to bring in Oscorp, if that makes sense. Oscorp is like the Sinister Six for me, where I'm like, I've seen it. But I get what we're saying. And also that would be $1 billion if we do bring in Oscorp because it's nostalgic. We want that nostalgia. But do I want that being the villain? Do we not want the villain being someone that's already in New York?
I just think if you make Kingpin basically the king of New York, like his name is on Avengers Tower now. But is like, just imagine that trailer that we just kind of talked through. Does that feel like enough of a movie? Do you need a spectacle like Johnny Storm to be in this movie in order to reach it? Do you need a spectacle like Venom? Or is Miles alone and the promise of Miles and Aaron Davis and some of the technology that might bring to the story? Do you need like an Iron Man element like Riri Williams? Or does Marvel not have enough confidence in Riri Williams the way they've delayed Ironheart?
I don't think they have confidence in it, but I do think knowing how Marvel works, they're going to put a big bad in it regardless. They're going to be like, we need to have one bad character.
I think it is Kingpin using some kind of special technology that we haven't seen him use and we won't see him use in Daredevil Born Again. And it can be rooted in what we saw in Echo, the kind of augmented reality. It could be Kingpin using Stark tech or Pym tech or Reed Richards tech or some kind of leftover tech that's in Avengers Tower that he has now been able to operate. It shouldn't be drones because we saw that in Far From Home, but some other kind of technology that he unleashes on the city. And Peter Parker and Miles Morales and either Matt Murdock or Riri Williams are uniquely set up to help solve that crisis.
Do you think we couldn't get a story where he's fighting the other vigilantes? Or do you think that's going to be Daredevil Born Again?
The other because it's like people who are trying to take
because I can see like what if it's him versus Punisher? Because Punisher has a different version of what freedom and justice is. Because I'm also like, we've seen Spider-Man fight villains before. We've seen him fight the like poster child for villains, and I'm like, I want to see him. Which I guess we get this in Daredevil. I'm like, I want him to fight someone that's not really a villain, like Killmonger, where it's like he's executing it in a horrible, poor fashion, but I see where he's coming from. So I'm like, is it going to be another MCU character that has been I wouldn't want it to be freaking Netflix, Jessica Jones's partner. No, the one that has sex with her. Luke Cage. I don't want it to be Luke Cage. I only chose Luke Cage because I was like, isn't he also kind of running for mayor or doing something at the end of his season? So
he's kind of like a community leader for his neighborhood. Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, but what if he had a different objective than Kingpin did? And Kingpin's like, hey, Spider-Man, this guy's horrible man. And Spider-Man goes after him and he's like, I'm actually not horrible. It's actually Kingpin.
See, I think my pitch would be Kingpin is working with the DODC and with and Val's government organization who have a list of kids. We saw this in Miss Marvel, who have a list of kids who are enhanced. And we learn in this movie that these are mutants, that there are young mutants who are in the New York area that like Kingpin has made a promise, on a political promise to be mayor of the city, to find each of these kids and to detain them. And so that's, and then families who are mutants. And so Peter Parker and Miles Morales and either Matt Murdock through his legal efforts or Riri Williams through her technological efforts are helping protect these kids and deliver them safe passage to a school up in Westchester.
Yeah, and then Daredevil's gonna be like, we gotta kill him, and Peter Parker's gonna be like, we shouldn't kill anybody.
Why would Daredevil say that?
Because you know how crazy he gets.
No, like, I will find the legal.
That's what you say, and then remember he starts beating them. He starts beating them, and he's going crazy.
Why is he hurting the mutants?
No, not the kids. I'm talking about Kingpin. I'm talking about Kingpin.
Yeah, he'd be so mad. But the whole time I was like, good Lord, Jessica.
He's going after the children. He's breaking their legs, breaking their arms, breaking their tiny little limbs. I like your idea though with Kingpin. Kingpin just has to be a master. He has to be really good. It can't just be his weight and his muscle he relies on. So the DODC or Val is a good idea. Oh, does that mean Thunderbolts?
How would that mean Thunderbolts?
It's Val.
Oh, yeah. I think like she's in Avengers Tower, but I think she's sharing it with Fisk. I think it's now Fisk Tower.
It's just like a little office space.
Yeah, I think they're using it as like kind of this command center to like to do whatever. I think they're trying to gather weapons. They have some kind of deal with Sentry and Thunderbolts, right? And I think that beyond that, it's going to be like the way he looks out over the city. And I think has this kind of government program. She's overseeing the CIA and DODC to find all these enhanced people. But now the word enhanced is going to become mutants. Yeah. And Kamala Khan is one of them. Namor's obviously one of them. Yeah. And there's going to be a young Scott Summers and a young Jean Grey and all these other kids who are out there.
Yeah, 100%.
That they need to protect them. All right. I think we figured it out.
Yeah.
$1 billion. Take it, Summers and McKenna. Take it and run with it. You don't have to credit us.
If I don't see Miles, you're not making $1 billion.
We will make sure you don't.
If I don't see a Miles in a fourth Spider-Man, a fourth! That's so many Spider-Man movies.
You've had so many opportunities.
So many opportunities. The first one, the second one, and the third one. That's what comes before 4.
I think the next time you see Jessica and I on the sneak peek, we may have a different look around this set. We'll see. We will see. But coming up next week on New Rockstars, it's going to be Agatha season, folks. So either Wednesday night or Thursday morning will be the breakdown of episodes 1 and 2 over on the Break Room Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific time. You're going to see me and Jessica and Brandon and John and Evan just taking all your questions. We're going to be streaming live on the Break Room Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Subscribe to the Break Room because that's going to be where a lot of fun conversations are happening. Friday will be the breakdown of The Penguin episode 1 starring Colin Farrell in the universe of Does He Know? So you're going to want to check that out. A pretty good show. Penguin's pretty good.
It's better. It's better
than you think.
Better than you think. I remember seeing the trailer being like, this is kind of boring. And that's me being very petty.
Trailers didn't make it look good, but the show as it is actually really good. Kristen Milotti, though, is the star of it. Yeah. She's so talented.
No, God. I wasn't surprised about that. I was like, this woman acts her ass off. Yeah, she's actually really good. I would love to see her do a stage play. She is amazing.
She'd be good. And as a show that's clearly modeled on The Sopranos, like she's both in The Sopranos and in the show. She's in the final season of The Sopranos.
She stays in that. Is she like from New Jersey? Because she kind of stays in that realm because she also was in The Green Book. And then she also did in Wolf of Wall Street. She was kind of the same.
She was, yeah.
She loves playing those like big haired or like mean women. And she's really good.
She played the mother in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I love her. Good for her. I'm glad she got something like this that's insane and intense.
Yeah. Well, comment down below with what you would really need to see in this fourth Spider-Man movie. Follow Jessica at Lulu_Clemens. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the New Rockstars Network. And we will see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.